Welcome to Sociology 101. This is an introduction to the academic discipline of sociology. It is not a field of study that is taught in most high schools, although I'm not sure why it isn't, or even one that you may have heard of before. However, some of you may be in the nursing field, so are required to take this introductory course. That in itself should tell you that health professionals see the relationship between an individual's health and the society around the person. Sociologists see that relationship in all professions and careers. My name is Sue Dowden. I have a PhD in sociology from the University of Maryland, where I taught and ran a survey research center for 10 years. I like teaching best, so when moving to Southern California, I joined El Camino College and have been here for 25 years. Now I teach only online, sometimes while in Southern California and sometimes in Flagstaff, Arizona, home of Northern Arizona University. First, this is a list of the learning objectives for this lecture. I put a list at the beginning of all lectures so students have some idea of where we are going in that particular lecture. At the end of the lecture, you can come back to this slide, and if one of the objectives is not clear to you, go back to that slide or slides to review. It is also an excellent review for the exams. Sociology is the study of society, the social world that we live in. Because of that, it touches almost every other field of study, from psychology, the individual, to larger parts of society, like economics or politics, even into the fields of mathematics and science, which are influenced by the societies in which they are developed. And then they influence the society, always a two-way street. On most college campuses, sociology is an integral part of the social sciences division, connected in many ways to other social sciences, as we are here at El Camino College. We will get into these relationships in more detail as we continue this semester. For the moment, to get us started, let's focus on what is sociology. Our textbook gives a brief definition on page 6. It states, quote, "Sociology is the study of groups and group interaction, societies and social interactions, from small and personal groups to very large groups." Let me put it another way. Using a definition from John Marchioness, a professor of sociology at Kenyon College in Ohio, whose textbooks I used in introductory sociology for many years. Sociology is the systematic study of the groups and societies that people build and how they affect behavior. The first part of this definition, systematic study, refers to research, mainly the scientific method, which we will discuss in Chapter 2 in next week's lectures. The most important parts for this lecture are the second part, groups and societies, and the fourth part, how they affect behavior. So we are linking these two parts of the definition. It is this connection, the social world and its effect on individual behavior, that is the core of sociology. I have given the definition of groups, societies, and culture in this PowerPoint with the pages of our textbook, and we will look at each of these concepts in the first few weeks. Let me show this relationship visually. On this slide, we see snowflakes on the left, which I am using to represent individuals. No pun intended. These individual snowflakes are each different from one another, but when they land in a particular place, here I am using the tree as their place, their, quote, society, quote, which happens to each individual is determined by the position of the society. Is it in the sun or the shade? Does the cold continue or merge into spring? Their individual life is also shaped by their location within the society. Are they close to the trunk of the tree? or are they out on the end of the branches where the first wind storm will knock them off? Without using this example to extremes, we can see that the individual differences are affected by the larger forces surrounding the tree, the society. The type of society may be a large fir tree or a small sapling, and the location of individuals within that tree or society as outside forces affect the tree. These factors affecting a society from outside or within the society are what sociologists refer to as social facts or social forces. The term social facts is used in your textbook. I am more used to forces, but the two terms are the same, just depending on what you are used to. The ability to see the connection between the society and the individual, what I just described to you, is what is called the sociological perspective, the way sociologists see things. Another term for this sociological perspective is sociological imagination. C. Wright Mills, a sociologist from Columbia University from 1946 to 1962, gave us this term as well as many others, including the power elite, which we will talk about again in another lecture. Regarding the sociological imagination, Mills said we must have the, quote, imagination to see the connection between the individual and the historic period in which they live, as well as the imagination to see the connection between the individual and the social environment in which the individual lives. Think about this for a minute. I am a little older than most of you. Well, a lot older. I was influenced growing up in that I lived in an industrial society, in a suburban home built after World War II. My father was a steel worker, blue collar all the way. As a college student, I was influenced by the Vietnam War and the Civil Rights Movement. I had student loans, but they were from the federal government, so very low interest rates, different from how it's done today. When my husband and I married, birth control pills were just becoming available. It depended on the doctor you went to. There was not an internet or cell phones. I don't know how we lived without them. But these were some of the social facts or forces that influenced me at the time I was your age. The pictures on this slide show changes in shopping, just one example, from local neighborhood shops to the large malls and chain stores to shopping online. What are some of the social facts that are influencing your lives today? On this slide, I have listed some which Returning to our expanded definition of sociology, I want to emphasize the third part of the definition, that people build. The societies and groups that form our social environment are built by people, people trying to survive, to have the best life possible. Sometimes we don't realize this, but if people build them, they can change them, which we see every day in social movements, in conflicts, in changing societies everywhere. That gives us another area that sociologists study, which is social change. And it will be a theme throughout this semester because I think it's very important to emphasize that part of the definition. Another part of sociology that is discussed in your first chapter is the different levels of reality that sociologists study. Macro, meaning large structures of society like the government or the economy. Micro means smaller structure, like your own family or the schools that you go to in your community. Each has its own organizational structure. Micro also includes social interaction, how two people interact or how people interact within a structure, like the family or your school. This chart shows us the continuum of micro to macro. The field of sociology is huge and covers many different areas of social life. Most sociologists focus their study on one of these levels, although they know there is a larger framework that they have to keep in mind. My interests have included social ethnic groups. I have taught classes in race and ethnicity in the United States, as well as a global perspective. I teach Sociology 108 each spring, which is a global perspectives of race and ethnicity. My sociological imagination connects the history of ethnic groups to their lives as influenced by the social environment around them today. Even if you don't major in sociology, an introductory course is often required for fields like nursing. Think about the career you might be interested in. What do you need to know about the society, the social environment, the culture, the lives of people in that society? Even if you are going to Mars, you are not going alone. You are part of a socially interacting team. I have listed on this slide some careers which do require sociology courses, sometimes as a major, sometimes as graduate work, but you can see that sociology touches many fields. This finishes our introduction to sociology. I hope it gives you an overview of what we're going to be talking about, but also how it can be important to you in future careers. So think about what you might like to examine as we go along through the semester. I also include a summary at the end of each lecture, so you can review what we have covered in that lecture. For example, in this lecture, we discussed the question of what is sociology, what does it study, and what can we do with sociology.